So he FaceTimed me and stuff like that. He was like, Nipsey just got killed. I'm like, sick, so I didn't hear that. So I hang up with him. I called Nipsey, and I'm like, Nipsey, what's up? He was like, oh, what's up with it?
Nipsey answered.
Nipsey answered. He answered the phone. So after I talked to Nipsey, and I was like, yeah, I love you, cuz, or whatever like that. I'll see you later, or whatever. So I hung up the phone. I thought Big U gave wrong information. 30 minutes later, the homies blowing me up like they just killed Nipsey.
Big U received a call announcing Nipsey's death 30 minutes before it actually happened. Now, years later, his own son has been murdered on Halloween night. The chilling irony? Some of Nipsey's old affiliates are allegedly celebrating it as karma. Meanwhile, resurfaced footage, wild conspiracies, and heated debates are tearing the hip-hop community apart. Is this street justice or a heartbreaking tragedy? Let's unpack what really went down. This story unfolds straight out of the concrete jungles of Los Angeles, where one Halloween night turned into a nightmare that left the entire hip-hop world divided, shocked and questioning whether divine justice truly exists. Viral footage is spreading fast. Old clips are resurfacing, and the echoes of a feud tied to one of West Coast rap's most beloved figures, Nipsey Hussle, are haunting the timeline. Picture this. Halloween 2025. October 31st. Across suburban neighborhoods, kids are out trick-or-treating. Families are posting their pumpkin-lit porches on Instagram, living that picture-perfect life. But down in South Central L.A., outside the Fig and 69 smoke shop in the heart of Rollins 60s Crips territory, an entirely different reality was unfolding. Jabari Baby Y Henley, a 34-year-old warehouse worker and part-time musician, was doing everything he could to stay away from the gang life his father was infamous for. His father? Eugene Big U Henley, a name that carries massive weight in West Coast hip-hop. Big U isn't some random OG. He's a certified street legend, an alleged shot caller for the Rollins 60s neighborhood Crips, one of California's most notorious sets. But beyond the streets, he's also known as a music executive who helped launch careers, a community activist running nonprofit programs, and most notably, the early mentor and manager of Ermias Nipsey Hussle, Asgadam, the Grammy-nominated rapper murdered in 2019. Around 11:11 p.m., an eerily symbolic time, Jabari pulled up to the smoke shop. According to LAPD reports, surveillance footage captured him approaching a dark-colored sedan, possibly a Toyota Camry or Honda Accord. Without warning, someone inside unleashed at least 7 shots from what investigators suspect was a semi-automatic pistol, likely a 9mm or .40 caliber. Bullets tore through Jabari's torso, chest, stomach, arm, and thigh. As gunfire erupted, bystanders screamed and dove for cover. LAPD units from the 77th Street Division arrived within minutes. Officers performed CPR, even administering epinephrine in a desperate attempt to restart his heart. But the damage was catastrophic. Jabari suffered massive internal bleeding, a ruptured pulmonary artery, and ultimately went into hemorrhagic shock. Right there on that cold South L.A. pavement, Jabari Baby Y Henley was pronounced dead at just 34 years old. Forensic teams swept the scene collecting shell casings, reviewing surveillance footage, and recovering partial DNA evidence from the vehicle's door handle. Word on the street says the hit may be linked to long-standing tension between the Rollins 60s and the Hoover Criminals gang, a decades-deep rivalry. 2 persons of interest, both Hoover affiliates from Inglewood, were briefly detained but later released. As of now, no arrests have been made, though LAPD has posted a $50,000 reward for information. Then came the twist that sent shockwaves through social media. The victim wasn't just anyone. He was Big U's son, and Big U himself, he wasn't free to mourn. He's currently in federal custody at the Metropolitan Detention Center, held without bail on a sweeping 43-count RICO indictment. Charges include extortion, human trafficking, bank fraud, robbery, tax evasion, and even a 2021 murder-for-hire plot. For years, federal prosecutors have painted Big U as the head of a sprawling criminal enterprise. Around 1:30 a.m. on November 1st, behind bars and away from the world, Big U received the devastating call on a contraband cell phone from his co-defendant, Loose Cannon. Reports say when he heard the news, he kept whispering in disbelief, "Not my boy, not like this." The weight of those words hit harder than any bullet a father crushed by the same streets that once made his name.
My motivation for purposely trying to get this gang violence to the point to where it's none is my kids, my sons. I have sons who are at the age, who are at that target age, and when I came home, I definitely wanted to be a part of the solution and getting LA to where it is right now today. You know what I mean? And my motivation is a selfish motivation because I have sons. And I don't never want to see my sons laying in no cat.
Which makes what happened to Jabari all the more tragically ironic. Here was a man who had spent years working to end gang violence, dedicating his life to protecting his sons from the very dangers he once knew too well. Yet one of them still lost his life on the same streets he was trying to save others from. Jabari had turned his back on the gang lifestyle, focusing on his job as a warehouse supervisor and trying to live right. But the truth is, the streets don't care about your intentions or your redemption. When your last name is Henley and your father is Big U, your reputation walks into every room before you do. You're marked respected by some, targeted by others, whether you're active in the streets or not. That's the brutal reality of legacy and gang culture. Sometimes the debts of the father are paid by the son. What followed in the days after Jabari's killing turned a local heartbreak into a national spectacle. The story exploded online, igniting millions of conversations, arguments, and conspiracy theories across every platform from Instagram and X to YouTube and podcasts. It wasn't just the tragedy of Jabari's death that made it go viral, but the deep, tangled, and controversial history between his father, Big U, and the late Nipsey Hussle. For years, whispers and accusations have surrounded Big U claims of alleged involvement or advanced knowledge of Nipsey's 2019 murder, fueling endless online debates that never really died down. Jabari's death brought all of it roaring back to the surface. That's when forgotten old footage began resurfacing, taking on new meaning in the wake of the tragedy. Nipsey's closest affiliates, those who had always stood by his name, started acting differently, dropping cryptic posts and making bold, emotionally charged statements. Suddenly, the age-old concepts of karma and street justice became the most divisive and explosive topics in hip-hop culture. Everyone had a theory, everyone took a side, and the debate turned toxic fast. To understand why Jabari's death hit so hard and sparked so much chaos, you have to understand the bond and the eventual fallout between Big U and Nipsey Hussle. Their story isn't simple. It's layered with loyalty, betrayal, business, family, and power. Without knowing their history, the mentorship that turned into brotherhood, the deals that soured, the violent confrontations, and the rumors that still won't die, it's impossible to grasp why so many saw Jabari's murder as karmic payback for his father's alleged past. Let's rewind to the mid-2000s. Nipsey Hussle was just a hungry young rapper from Crenshaw with a dream and a hustle. Big U, already a respected OG in the rollin' 60s Crips with strong music industry ties, saw potential in him. Around 2006 or 2007, he took Nipsey under his wing, offering him studio time, a roof over his head, street protection, and valuable connections through his label, Unique Music. Under Big U's guidance, Nipsey's grind started paying off fast. He even landed a feature on Tupac's posthumous album Pac's Life in 2006, a massive breakthrough for an unknown rapper from South Central. Back then, their relationship looked like the perfect example of an OG guiding a younger protege out of the hood toward greatness. Big U wasn't just Nipsey's manager, he was a mentor, a teacher, and for a time, a big brother figure. Nipsey often spoke highly of him in interviews and lyrics, giving him credit for showing him how to move both in the streets and in the industry. To outsiders, it looked solid, built on loyalty, mutual respect, and shared ambition. But as Nipsey's fame and money began to grow, so did the cracks in their partnership. By 2010 and 2011, tension had replaced trust. The first signs of conflict came from business disputes. Nipsey had signed a management deal with Big U's label, Unique Music, reportedly a 10-year contract. But as his career took off, questions started swirling about money, percentages, and control. Was Nipsey getting his fair cut? Was the deal exploitative? Those doubts began driving a wedge between them. Then came the personal drama. One major flashpoint involved Nipsey's daughter, who was living with her mother, Big U's niece. Nipsey reportedly believed his daughter was in a dangerous environment surrounded by drugs and violence. He confronted the situation directly, and some accounts claim he got physical, even pistol whipping someone during the altercation. Big U, both as a family elder and protector, took that as a serious act of disrespect. In the code of the streets, family is sacred. And when someone crosses that line, things can spiral fast, from tension to confrontation to violence.
That was what, about 7 years ago, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
It wasn't no shooting. It wasn't no shooting. It was where the police was shooting.
Yeah.
And it was a family dispute. You know what I mean? And that's what happened. Families had disputes. You know what I mean? And that's my little brother. You know what I'm saying? I love him to death. We just did the whole little tour. But I mean, it was like any and everybody else. Sometimes you have a dispute, you gotta get understanding. We come from a place where that happens. You know what I mean? And like I said, if he got a problem, I got a problem. I got a problem, he definitely gonna have a problem.
According to Big U, the whole incident was nothing more than a family dispute that spiraled out of control, one that ended with police arriving on the scene and even firing shots themselves. But the streets tell a very different story. Word on the block is that Big U pulled up on Nipsey to confront him and check him using what's known in gang culture as a DP, or disciplinary punishment, a sanctioned beatdown meant to humble a younger member who stepped out of line. What started as a confrontation reportedly turned into a full-blown fight, with Big U allegedly overpowering Nipsey. That's when things took a turn. Nipsey's brother, Black Sam, allegedly fired a warning shot into the air to break up the altercation. The sound of gunfire instantly drew the LAPD, and when officers arrived, chaos erupted. In the confusion, police fired shots of their own. Everyone involved was arrested but released on bail the following day. In the world of gang politics, clashes like this aren't unusual and don't always mark the end of alliances. Despite the fight, Big U and Nipsey seemed to patch things up in the years that followed. By 2018, they were appearing together again in public, with Big U openly praising Nipsey's rise and success. Nipsey even gave Big U a shout-out on his Grammy-nominated album, Victory Lap. From the outside, it looked like the past had been buried. But anyone who knows the streets knows smiles don't always mean peace. Sometimes they just mean the cameras are rolling. Then came March 31st. 2019, a date forever burned into hip-hop history. Nipsey Hussle was gunned down in broad daylight outside his Marathon clothing store on Slauson Avenue. The shooter, Eric Holder Jr., a fellow Rollin' 60s member, had reportedly been accused by Nipsey earlier that day of being a snitch. Holder left the scene, returned minutes later armed with a handgun, and fired at least 10 shots, striking Nipsey multiple times before coldly kicking him in the head as he lay dying. The entire hip-hop world was shattered. Streets flooded with grief, murals went up overnight, and tributes poured in from across the globe. Eric Holder was later arrested, found guilty of first-degree murder in 2022, and sentenced to 60 years to life in 2023. Prosecutors presented the case as straightforward a fatal act of rage after Holder felt disrespected. But official stories rarely silence speculation. Almost immediately, conspiracy theories started spreading like wildfire. Some claimed Big U had something to do with it, that jealousy, old contract beefs, and lingering resentment over Nipsey's independence might have played a part. Others pointed to rumors that Big U somehow knew the hit was coming but didn't intervene. Whether born from paranoia or pain, those theories took root and never fully went away, becoming one of the most persistent and divisive narratives in modern hip-hop history.
He faced something and stuff like that. He was like, Nipsey just got killed. I'm like, sick, so I didn't hear that. So I hang up with him. I called Nipsey, and I'm like, Nipsey, what's up? He was like, oh, what's up with it?
Nipsey answered.
Nipsey answered. He answered the phone. So after I talked to Nipsey, and I was like, yeah, I love you, cuz, or whatever like that. I'll see you later, or whatever. So I hung up the phone. I thought Big U gave wrong information. 30 minutes later, the homies blowing me up like they just killed Nipsey.
The unsettling rumor suggested that Big U called and claimed Nipsey was dead before it actually happened, implying he might have known beforehand. But let's keep it 100. Despite all the conspiracy theories, Not a single law enforcement agency, FBI investigation, or court proceeding has ever uncovered any evidence linking Big U to Nipsey's murder. Eric Holder was tried, convicted, and sentenced as the sole shooter. Big U has always denied any involvement, calling Nipsey his little brother, and even organizing peace marches in his memory. Still, in the court of public opinion, perception often outweighs facts fast. Forward to March 2025, those old conspiracy theories reignited when Big U and 18 associates were hit with a massive 43-count federal RICO indictment. Prosecutors painted Big U as the head of a criminal network that extorted celebrities, defrauded nonprofit groups including his own Developing Options charity, and was linked to multiple violent crimes, even murder. One of the most serious accusations was the 2021 killing of up-and-coming rapper Rach Williams. Federal wiretaps allegedly captured Big U bragging about being bigger than Nip, which many took as a sign of jealousy and motive, even though Nipsey's name never appeared in the indictment. That timing alone reignited every old rumor. So when Jabari Henley Big U's son was murdered on Halloween 2025, a huge part of the hip-hop community and Nipsey's loyal fan base saw it as divine justice, as karma finally catching up to Big U. That's what made this story explode online under the name Karma's Price. Now everything came crashing together, the Halloween tragedy that shook L.A., the decade-long Big U and Nipsey history, the never-ending conspiracy theories, and years of street tension all colliding into a massive social media firestorm. Millions of people worldwide were taking sides, arguing online, and digging up old footage that suddenly looked darker and more meaningful in light of recent events. It all started with one old Instagram live video that went viral showing Big U, Nipsey, and Jabari hanging out on a Crenshaw street corner, laughing and looking like family. In the short, grainy clip, Big U proudly says, "We still out here, look at these two, UI and Nipsey Hussle on the block." When first posted, it was just another casual moment. But when it resurfaced after Jabari's death, it hit completely differently. Three men once alive together, now two gone, both murdered under eerily similar circumstances. Then things turned dark. The clip wasn't resurfaced by grieving fans, but allegedly leaked by Nipsey's close associates, intentionally shared to mock Big U and claim Jabari's murder was karmic payback for Nipsey's death 6 years earlier. Soon hashtags like Nip Karma, Justice for Nipsey, and O's Big Henley trended across Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Millions joined the conversation, celebrating, mocking, and framing Jabari's death as divine retribution. Social media analytics from the first 48 hours showed over 25 million impressions across platforms, with 62% of roughly 8,000 posts directly referencing Nipsey and framing Jabari's murder as the universe, balancing the scales. That's cold-blooded people celebrating the death of a 34-year-old man who wasn't involved in the streets, had a family, and was trying to live right. Jabari didn't kill Nipsey, wasn't charged, and had nothing to do with it except being Big U's son. Yet people treated his death as acceptable collateral damage, a mindset that keeps communities trapped in endless cycles of pain. Even worse, graphic crime scene clips spread on TikTok before platforms took them down. Some creators even profited off the tragedy until their accounts were suspended or demonetized. Then came reports of a prison confrontation between Nipsey's affiliates and Big U after Jabari's death, with claims they taunted him, saying, "That's what you get. Karma came for you."